2-on-2. Ready, break.
Hello and welcome back to Two in the Huddle. My name is David, as always, and this sexy gentleman across from me is my very good friend, Shadi. Shadi, how was the weekend? You were traveling yet again, jet setter.
Yeah, I did. But first of all, I'm always looking forward to these recordings because of your compliments at the beginning.
Oh,
I've not been
gotta be
called
nice.
sexy in a while. Thank you.
The internet's a dark place, so I feel like we can bring some levity to the small corners of YouTube we sit in.
Love it. Yeah, I was in Austria, in Vienna.
Nice.
Did a little boys trip with my childhood friends from Berlin.
Nice.
Was a good time. The Viennese people, we call them kind of decadent in Germany.
Okay.
They have a bit of an image to be decadent, a bit arrogant as well, but they definitely know how to live. They like their wine, they like their good food, their coffee. So had a good time there.
Good. They also really like their American football as well, funnily enough.
Yeah, they probably do. Yeah.
Like
so I feel good, but it's a bit of a mixed bag because there's this, basically they're starting to I don't know what they're doing over there, but there's a construction site right next door to my building right now.
Yes.
Hope it's not too noticeable to the people out there, but it's giving me a headache because it's drilling all day.
Yeah.
And if this keeps going on, I might have to look for a studio or somewhere else to record. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. How's it going for you?
All the goings on. It's better than the last time we had the cats. Remember the cats meowing throughout the whole episode? So you've always got something going on.
That might still happen, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. Good. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah, the Austrians have a very storied American football history, to be fair. My dad, when he moved to the UK in like kind of the early 90s, late 80s, they spent some time in the GB team in Austria. They used to play a lot of Austrian teams back in the day. He's got some good stories about being in Vienna, coaching American football. So big town. There's a lot of big lads over there as well. But glad to have you here and looking forward to today. So to get things rolling and get the ball moving, we are continuing on with our division breakdowns and predictions for the upcoming NFL 2026-2027 season. If you were with us last week, we covered the AFC North and went through all of the teams that belong in that conference and also gave our predictions there. So again, follow us, subscribe on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, everything else. The links should be below and you can kind of see who we've been keeping up with our predictions. Today, we are going to move to a different conference or a different division. I can't ever remember which one is which, but we are going to be talking about the NFC West today. So an interesting conference. We've got the 49ers, the Arizona Cardinals, the LA Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. So just as we did last week, we are going to take a team each, kind of break it down. What are the narratives? What are the key moves that happened in the offseason? And then we are going to give our prediction on where we think this division is going to shake out. And again, we'll be posting that on social. So again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. So last week, Shadi kicked off, I believe, and I threw the ball to him very quickly. I will lead for today because that's what a good host should be doing. And I'm going to start with, not to give any spoilers, the team I think...
Wait there, Dave. Wait there before you start.
Yeah.
Just want to really make it clear before we start why this division preview is so important. Why this is such an interesting division to preview. Can you guess when you look at the NFC West, NFC winners for the next season, the odds, who do you think are the top 5 predicted winners? Can you get them together?
I'd say the Rams, for sure. I'd probably put the Seahawks in that category.
Yes.
Or are the 49ers in there as well?
Yep.
Who else we got? I would put Chicago.
No, it's not the Chicago. It's the Lions and the Eagles. But the point anyway stands. 3 out of 5 are from this division that we're gonna preview today. So
Good shout.
It's a division of favorites going into the season.
It's a division of 3 favorites and 1 stinker. And that's where we're going to lead off for today. So if you are interested in the good teams in this conference, you could probably skip 15 minutes forward and we jump in. But I'm going to lead off today with the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't mean any disrespect, right? It's been a few seasons since they have reached the playoffs. It's an interesting franchise that has had some ups and downs in its life. They are definitely in a rebuild situation, I think is undoubtedly to say. So they have a couple of new faces this year as well. They have gotten rid of their previous head coach, Jonathan Gannon. He was fired after, I think, 3 seasons and a losing record in most of them. And they brought in Mike LaFleur, who I always get confused with Matt LaFleur. I believe they are brothers, if I'm not mistaken. And Mike LaFleur was formerly the Rams offensive coordinator, and he's been brought over to Arizona. And there's a couple other new faces that they've got as well. I think the big noticeable move that they made was moving on from Kyler Murray at quarterback in this season. They were 3-14 last year. Kyler Murray had some injuries. There was a lot of division strife, I think, within the franchise. And we talked about Kyler Murray in one of our episodes a few months ago, predicting he might leave. And I think about less than 24 hours after we said that, he did in fact move on, and they said that they're releasing him. They drafted Carson Beck out of Miami, who is an interesting quarterback. They have Gardner Minshew, who everyone just loves purely because of his mustache. And they just reworked the contract of Jacoby Brissett. So it does look like Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback going into next year. Then they got to their big, interesting draft pick. And this is kind of what made the Arizona Cardinals interesting this offseason, and maybe the only thing that made them interesting this offseason. A lot of people thought they had a draft pick that they could trade for potentially some more assets, but they didn't. They stuck at their pick, which was, I think, 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly the number now, and drafted Jeremiah Love from the University of Notre Dame, which was an interesting pick. I think if you look at kind of the Ashton Genty situation from a year ago, where the the Las Vegas Raiders took a running back really high in the draft, and it had some impact, but probably not the entire impact that they were looking for. It'll be interesting to see how he performs in this offense that is young. They're definitely in a rebuild as a team. Again, there's a couple of other new faces that we'll talk about. The new offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who is a name that I think we've heard around before. He replaced a man named Drew Petzing, who I've never heard of before in my entire life. But Drew has left to become Detroit's offensive coordinator, which is very interesting. Nick Rallis is their defensive coordinator. He stays, and they brought in a new special teams coordinator as well. Mike LaFleur is interesting, very much from that Sean McVay style of offense and Shanahan. So it's going to be interesting to see how he integrates his style with Nathaniel Hackett. The whole idea of the McVay-Shanahan offense is very much built on the wide zone runs, heavy play action, a lot of pre-snap motion as well. It's going to be interesting to see again how they utilize Jeremiah Love and how they utilize Jacoby Brissett, who I think is most likely going to be the starter. Defense is interesting as well. They got a couple of young players. They got older players as well. Buda Baker, old first-round picks, Walter Nolan, Jordan Birch. Not a lot of household names on defense as well. I think this is a whole new era for Arizona. They've got a lot of new faces. They moved on from what was their franchise quarterback for a long time. And now they're definitely in the stage of a rebuild. I don't think we are in a situation where we're expecting them to get a lot of wins on the board this year. They're probably a team you're not going to hear a lot about. It's probably definitely not a game that's going to be in any sort of primetime games, a team that's going to be in any primetime games this year. But that's pretty much the tall and the skinny. I don't know how much time you want to spend, Shads, on the Cardinals. Again, I don't want to disrespect them, but I think there's more exciting, jazzier teams in this division to talk about. Their owner and head coach themselves came out and said, hey, look, we're in a rebuild. We are reestablishing the norm here in Arizona. I don't expect a big jump from 3-14. They're probably going to be picking high again next year. But it'd be interesting to see Jeremiah Love play and see how the offense kind of pans out and if they made the right choice or not.
I don't want to talk too much about them, but I want to use this opportunity to again express my frustration and rant about that Jeremiah Love pick. I mean, we've done it before, but I have to do it again. Well, it was the one pick that I didn't want to see in the draft, and it happened. I don't know why. I don't understand it because it's like everyone in the Dogs was saying this shouldn't be the pick that they should do. For the people that don't know why, you don't usually start a rebuild with a running back. A running back is an important position, of course, but it's not this kind of piece that you center your offense around, or that you say this is going to change our fortune. You're going to bring an elite running back into a team that is already is just missing a piece, right? But usually you start your rebuild with a quarterback if one is available, or if not, you build your O-line or you get your weapons on edge, on wide receiver, things like that. And there were players available on those positions. So really, really, really frustrated with that one.
I don't argue with you. I think a lot of people say that you get the best value from a running back in the first 4 years, right? And if you're still rebuilding for those first 4 years, by the time you have to pay him, he might be on the decline or he might want to move. And, this again was the Ashton Genty situation. But if you credit the Raiders, they went ahead and added pieces around him.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of, there's a couple of weapons I did want to mention on the Cardinals that were worth at least mentioning as in interesting stories to follow. Trey McBride is the tight end coming off consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He led the league for tight ends last year in receptions or in yards at the very least. Again, interesting piece, a nice comfort player for Jacoby Brissett to throw to. And then you got the big one is Marvin Harrison Jr. Will he take the step up? I think a lot of people are putting the stock in him that he could potentially be a prime-time number one receiver in the NFL. But we haven't exactly seen the consistency from him yet. They brought in Kendrick Bourne, who's a bit more of a veteran to kind of help in the locker room. So that'll be interesting. They got Michael Wilson as well. So again, there's a couple of interesting storylines going on, but I think they're more player specific. And yeah, to your point, running back is an interesting pick, especially in today's NFL. There's been a little bit of resurgence in running back, I think, the last few years, and we've talked about that in the past. Their importance has come back. And there was a lot of players that they moved on from to go ahead and get Jeremiah Love and stick where they were. They have been investing in the defense over time. So again, Jordan Burch, Denzel Burke, Cody Simon. There's some names that you probably haven't heard of yet, but people in the Arizona organization think you will soon. So we'll see. We'll see how well they develop. New stars are born in the NFL every year, right? This is a thing. So we'll watch out for them. Again, I don't think it's a team that I'm going to pay a whole bunch of attention to. There's a couple of players I'm going to keep an eye out for, but as an organization, they need to win my affection. So I'm quite comfortable saying, let's move on from Arizona, Shads. And who do you want to lead off for keeping it moving?
That's fair. That's fair. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. And I want to start this off by saying, bear with me, because this one was quite complex, or turned out quite complex for me to break down. I got a bit confused on what I should think about the Seahawks going into the new season. So I might struggle for words here and there. So bear with me, but it will take some time. Why is the situation so complex around the Seahawks? They are the defending Super Bowl champions. They dominated last season, 14-3. So they won 14 games. They lost 3 games. Number 1 seed in the NFC. Dominant performance over the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And they did all of that with a historically good number 1 defense, top 3 on special teams as well, and a very balanced, very, very balanced offense. So all around, really positive signs, right, for a team going into the new season. It is very rare, though, that a modern team can actually repeat a Super Bowl or even repeat a challenge for a Super Bowl with a defense-first profile. It doesn't happen very often. Actually, I've pulled it up. Let me just pull this up here. So the last few times that you had defense-first teams win the Super Bowl, you had the Broncos in 2015 that then didn't even make the playoffs in 2016.
Yeah.
You had the Ravens in 2012 that missed the playoffs in 2013. You had the Bucks in 2002. They missed the playoffs in 2003. So defense-heavy teams usually they struggle with keeping up that momentum.
Yeah.
So that's one storyline with the Seahawks to look out for. Can they keep up the momentum? Even Mike McDonald, the head coach for the Seahawks, is preaching that they are not defending anything. They're a new team, and yeah, he's got a point. He's already setting the expectations going into the new season, right? He knows how hard it is to deliver again.
I mean, there's been only since 1992. So I jump in. There's only been 4 teams since 1992, the year I was born, that have gone back to back. So Dallas did it in 92, 93. Denver did it in 97, 98. The Patriots did it 2003, 2004. And then the Kansas City Chiefs did it a couple of years ago. So let alone defensive, offensive, it's just rare in general in the NFL to
no,
go back to back.
But I've checked that, and the point still stands that it's harder, or it seems to be harder for defense-heavy teams.
Yeah.
because they not only that they don't make it to the Super Bowl or repeat the Super Bowl, they usually have a fall off the next season. They don't even make in these 4 occasions, they didn't even make the playoffs the next season for different reasons that might or might not be the case for the Seahawks this season. We're going to go into that. But yeah, the point stands. It's harder for defense. It seems to be harder for defense-heavy teams to keep up the same momentum. Yeah? So let's look a bit at the Seahawks' identity and what they changed going into the new season. They have a new offensive coordinator. They lost Clint Kubiak, who's now the head coach of the Raiders. So they lost their offensive coordinator that was responsible for one of the most balanced, efficient offenses in the league. 28.4 points per game. That's 3rd in the league. Top 10 in total and passing yards, 11th in rushing, and almost a perfect 50-50 run-pass split. So very balanced, very harmonized offense between run and pass. Very hard to predict what they're going to do.
Yep.
The core idea was something that Dave mentioned already earlier today, wide zone run game. Maybe Dave, as the more experienced of the two of us, maybe you can quickly high level explain what a wide zone run game is.
Yeah, real quick. I think it's just you can run up the middle, kind of between the tackles, or you can run to the outside, right? To quite simply. And the goal of an outside run is you have the lineman kind of pushing in a direction, and the goal is to try and stretch the defense out. So gaps appear, right? Then the running back, as he going out towards the sideline, has kind of 3 different places he can go. He can bounce further outside and try and go around towards the sideline. He can cut back in, or he can kind of just follow his block and keep going straight. So it's just a run tactic to kind of get some linemen pulling and kind of break the defense apart. You see it quite popular on Madden games like this. Yeah. These runs are quite popular, and it's quite a popular run scheme in general, I think, in the NFL at the moment.
Yeah, and it's opening space for the receivers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes it very dynamic. And thank God that I have you here to explain all of this, because I wouldn't have done it so good. So yeah, the core idea is a wide zone run game last season under Clint Kubiak, with Jackson Smith-Njigba as their clear focal point of the attack, right? He was carrying the big load, and then Sam Darnold kind of as this rhythm passer, like not dominating the game, but he stays within the rhythm of the game. So, but here's the thing, Kubiak is gone. The new offensive coordinator is Brian Fleury. He comes from the 49ers. And he's been very explicit that continuity is the goal. Yeah. So he wants to do something very similar to what Kubiak has done last season. Under center, wide zone run game, a lot of motion, pre-snap motion, heavy involvement for the running backs in the pass game as well. So we're going to see a lot of that again, probably. Only thing is, Brian Fleury never operated as a play caller before, while Clint Kubiak did when he joined the Seahawks. So that's a bit of a question mark here on offense. Could be a big loss. Talking about losses, they also lost Kenneth Walker, their running back, who went to the Chiefs. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP, right?
Yeah. Big play guy. That's the problem. It's the big plays.
I just wanted to say, not super consistent runner, but very high impact, winning games with big runs, super explosive, the most explosive last season. You can't really replace that.
I agree.
Just in the same way, right? It's very rare to find this combination. And who knows if he's going to repeat it. So yeah, but it's definitely a loss.
Yeah.
And they tried to replace him by drafting, I don't have his first name here, but Jadarian Price.
Yeah, he was Jeremiah Love's backup. He wasn't even a starter in college.
Was he? Yeah.
He was from Notre Dame. He was the 1-2 punch of Jeremiah Love.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they drafted him. So Jeremiah Love's backup in the first round as well. So they went high for him, and they got Emmanuel Wilson as a free agent. He was with the Packers before, just for depth, because their experienced starting running back Charbonnet is still injured. He hasn't had an ACL, so the situation is a bit unclear. Yeah? So you have Emmanuel Wilson, you have Price, who's a rookie, Charbonnet, who knows when he's going to come back. So also a bit of question marks here of who's going to cover for Kenneth Walker.
Yeah,
that's on offense. Then we have defense identity. Nothing much changes here. Still, so they come out of a season where they had the best defense overall in the NFL, historic defense. They will go into the new season with the same scheme, try to do this, to repeat the same thing. It wasn't sometimes the easiest to watch when you like to watch an attacking-minded NFL game, but it won them games. However, they've lost some pieces. It was hard for them to keep the defense together, which is normal when you win the Super Bowl. So they lost Boye Mafe. Their main, I would say their main sack pressure.
Pass rusher.
Pass rusher, yeah. He went to the Bengals. So he was a key piece for them to keep the pressure on the quarterback. And then they lost their safety, Kobe Bryant, and their cornerback, Rick Rulin. Again, those are Pro Bowl caliber players, both gone, not easy to replace, both in the secondary. Yeah, so the secondary took a big hit and they lost their biggest piece of pressure on quarterbacks as well. So not the easiest circumstances. They still have a very deep and versatile front seven meaning the D-line plus the linebackers, because they kept most of their starters on that front, except for Mafe. So they kept Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, Derek Hall, and Nwosu. It really is up to Hall and Nwosu to now step up and make sure losing Mafe won't be felt. So those two players, for the people out there, keep an eye on them, Derek Hall and Nwosu. Can they bring the numbers that Boye Mafe brought them last season? Can they bring that pressure?
And DeMarcus Lawrence has got to be like 58 at this point. I'm Googling him now.
Is he, yeah?
He's 34. He was born, funnily enough, he's older than me, which is crazy. He's a month older than me. He's born 28th of April. Because he spent a long time in the Cowboys. And obviously, as soon as he left the Cowboys, he won championship, which Stephen A. Smith just loved. But we'll see again if he can have another season of high production, right? They got a couple players getting on. So again, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep it up.
Absolutely. But I think it helps that they kept the starting core together, at least, most of them.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you think they, from what your research is, are they looking better, the same, or worse? Like, I've got an idea in my head, I think, of what they look like on defense.
Purely the defense?
Yeah.
Let me finish with the main point about the defense that I haven't mentioned yet, and then I think I can answer your question there. We haven't talked about the secondary yet. Right? Cornerbacks and safeties. I mean, I've mentioned that they've lost their cornerback and their safety. Yeah. So they still have Witherspoon, who's now, the secondary is built around him. Yeah. Pretty much. He's become the clear face of the secondary. But the main concern is really that Kobe Bryant and Rick Woolen left a big hole that, let's see if they can replace it. I mean, they drafted a cornerback, Julian Neal, in round 3. They drafted a safety, Bud Clark, in round 2. And they got a free agent cornerback, I think, safety, Rodney Thomas from the Colts. Yeah. So they've got pieces in, one experienced safety and 2 rookies. But yeah, Kobe Bryant and Rick Woolen definitely left a big hole. Secondary is probably the one group that took the biggest hit of all of them. No. So if you look at it like this, I'm not even looking at Boye Mafe. I'm just looking at the secondary and I say the defense got worse, got older. Let's see if the scheme can cover that. Yeah. Because the scheme stays the same and they have a lot of consistency. Consistency, is that the right word? Basically, the defense will function in the same way as last season, which probably will help them.
Yeah. Continuity, I think, is the word.
Continuity, yeah.
It's interesting you've gone through this whole bit and not mentioned the quarterback, funnily enough. And I don't know if I'm in your head already, but that's the one I want to talk about. That's the interesting part for me, I think.
It's funny that you're ahead of me. I wanted to ask you next, Dave, what have we not talked about at all yet? What's the elephant in the room?
Yes, that's it. Like, because it's a big question. It's a big talking point, right? Like,
yes.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but there is probably a big correlation with quarterbacks having 1 or 2 seasons getting paid and then never striking that much iron, that much heat again. So what is your thoughts? What did you find out about Sam Darnold during your research?
So my opinion about Sam Darnold is not really based on stats or research. It's based on the eye test. Yes, he performed well last season and the season before for the Vikings. I think he had a bit of a resurgence, right? I still think at the moment it's a quarterback that benefited from the scheme and from the defense, benefited from JSN carrying a lot of load, right? Catching a lot, having the best season of his career. I didn't see anything above average from Sam Darnold last season, to be honest. Would you rank him in your top 15 quarterbacks? Top 15?
I think maybe top 15.
Is he better? Let's say like this. Is he better than Jalen Hurts?
I mean, they're very similar in my opinion. I think the question more is, do they have the pieces around him to make him look good enough, right? Like JSN comes back. Rashid Shaheed was traded for middle of the season last year, so they only had a half a year with him. I think Cooper Kupp comes back, who again is getting on in age, but is still quite a dynamic receiver. I think the run game also he benefited from significantly because you had to respect Kenneth Walker. So if you don't have to respect Kenneth Walker as much, I don't know what they did on the O-line specifically, if they got better or worse or the same again. But I don't know. I would I have him top 15? Can you name 15 quarterbacks better than Sam Darnold? After last season alone, probably not, right? Like I'd have him above CJ Stroud and these kind of people because he won a Super Bowl and he had some decent stats and he played well down the stretch. But again, does he have the depth at receiver? Does he have enough weapons overall in the run game to allow him the time? Does the defense keep people off the field? There's a lot of question marks where I don't have as much trust as I did. I mean, no one had them last year, right? Going to winning the Super Bowl. So they were a real low draft odd to get there in the first place. So that kind of says to me, well, then why would I have them high again? They've not, in my opinion, got better. They've either stayed the same or got slightly worse across the board, you know?
Yeah, and that was my argument in the way too early predictions when I said they're gonna win the NFC.
Yes.
Now I'm not so sure anymore after doing the research. Hey, just to sum it up, really the key talking points, key things to watch next season, or the key questions really are, as you said, how can they replace Kenneth Walker if the running game stalls, doesn't work anymore? How does Sam Darnold perform without having that run game as an alternative, let's say, right? Do they keep up this 50-50 split even if Charbonnet is injured and Jadarian Price is a rookie? How do they handle the OC transition without Clint Kubiak? Will they again give as many targets to JSN only? Because they still have Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed. Maybe it was a one-off season. That's another question that they need to answer. And then, as I mentioned, the secondary for me is a big one. Yeah, if that secondary takes even a small step back in coverage, that's exactly where cracks will start to show in defense.
Yeah.
In a division where you have Matthew Stafford and Brock Purdy especially. And especially if that secondary has maybe a little bit less time because the pressure of Boye Mafe is missing on the front.
Yep.
So yeah, those are the three main questions for them. And overall, I think the defense got worse. The offense stays more or less the same, even without Kenneth Walker, but lost their OC. So that's also a bit of a big question mark for me.
Yeah, we're gonna.
But that's it on the Seahawks. As I said, complex for me to break this one down. Talked a lot. Yeah. Hope you could follow my thoughts. But yeah, that's it for the Seahawks.
I don't think you'd be the only one with question marks around them. Like I said, we'll get to the predictions of the leaders. I think when we did our way too early predictions, I think it was before the Rams loaded up on D as well. So I think there was a lot of holes still in the Rams team. But I had the Rams for a long time. And that moves me nicely into who we're going to talk about next. So I had the joyous situation of talking about the Los Angeles Rams, who I have on multiple occasions kind of looked at as not just NFC favorites, but they have to be Super Bowl favorites. And they have built a type of team that really suggests it's Super Bowl or bust at the moment, right? So last season, a lot of people had them going to the Super Bowl. A lot of people had them on their list. They beat the Panthers in the wild card only by 3 points. It was a hell of a game. They then beat the Bears in a dope game, again by 3, and then lost to the Seahawks, the eventual champions in the conference championship game, by 4 points. So really tight playoff games where they scored a good amount of points. Their big problem last season was their defense. It stunk. On third down, it stunk keeping people getting the offense off the field, and they were scored on a lot. So I think if they'd had a better defense, the Panthers probably don't put 31 on them in the wild card. The Bears probably don't put 17 on them in the division round, and I doubt the Seahawks put 31 on them if they had a right defense in the conference championship. So how do you go and fix a poor defense? Well, you say F them draft picks, and you go and trade for a few absolute legends. And we're going to talk about the first one right now. Actually, I'll talk about him last because you know who I'm going to mention. Let's start with what they did at corner, right? So they went and got Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson from the Chiefs. Trent McDuffie is arguably maybe top 5, top 7 cornerback in the entire league. Jalen Watson also is maybe top 15, maybe top 20. Now you've got 2 legit corners that can come in and really lock things down. That was one of the things they really needed to do. They were getting beat up a lot in the secondary, and they really needed someone to come in and solidify. Then they needed some help at the rush position. So they had Jared Verse, they had Kobe Turner, and Braden Fisk. They had a couple of nice players on that defensive line, but they went out and got Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Now this is, dude, this is
Blockbuster.
not just a game changer. It is a completely monstrous lineup they have now. Their defensive line is arguably one of the best defensive lines created in the last few years. They've got some real perennial undervalued players like Turner, like Young, like Braden Fisk, who just haven't had the spotlight on them. And there is rumors that former legend Aaron Donald has been working out with the Rams. So I don't know if you're all aware, but he had a full practice in training camp in pads with the Los Angeles Rams last week. There is very little reason for him to go through this effort unless the thought of coming back is not real. So apparently he is seriously considering whether or not he is going to be back. And this is even more exciting. Imagine both your defensive ends would be Myles Garrett one side and a still very much prime Aaron Donald on the other side.
Well, it wouldn't be on the other side, but still, even in the, I mean, he would line up in the interior line, right? But they would get you from the interior line, from the right side, from the left side. Amazing.
No, it's a good shout, but he would play from everywhere. I think that's the point. Like, that defensive front would be Myles Garrett, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, and Aaron Donald, potentially.
So you've mentioned Braden Fisk before. You mentioned the word perennial for Braden Fisk. Personally, I don't know too much about him. Like, what makes you say that?
It was more the Kobe Turner, actually, who's just kind of like I think Yahoo Sports, I was reading this on, kind of said he's just like a perennially undervalued but quality player. You know, someone who should be in the Pro Bowl, but people just don't look at him as closely as maybe that he should as far as getting the love. So again, just to say he's a quality player. A quality player that was already there. They had Jared Verse, of course, who was a young and up-and-comer. But you trade for Myles Garrett because that's where the real talent lies. That's just the picture on defense. So their defense suggests Super Bowl or bust, right? And then you move to the offensive side. And this is arguably maybe Matt Stafford's one or two last seasons. They drafted Ty Simpson in the first round with one of the picks that they had, obviously to be a backup to Matt Stafford, but potentially to come in and replace him. But you've got some absolute legends again on the offensive side. Puka Nacua, who continues to be an absolute unplayable wide receiver at times, had some interesting stuff happen in the offseason. So we'll see how, I guess, quickly he bounces back.
Yes.
But you've also got Devontae Adams, and running back, you've got Kyron Williams. So just to go over last season, some of the team leaders in the regular season as far as stats goes. Matthew Stafford last season in the regular season threw for 4,700 yards, completed 65% of his passes. Kyron Williams had 1,252 yards on the ground, 10 touchdowns, averaged 4.8 yards per carry on 259 carries. So he had an incredible season. And then you had Puka Nacua, who had 129 receptions, 1,700 yards, and 10 touchdowns as well. Devontae Adams, funnily enough, actually led the team in points because he caught the most touchdowns.
I wanted to ask you about Devontae Adams, because I think he had he was their red zone target kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
do you think?
Absolutely.
I mean, he had a very important role as that. He's 33 now.
Yeah.
Personally, I think he can keep that up, but what do you think?
I mean, I don't see why not. Like, again, I think Matthew Stafford is, again, one of the top 5-6 quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe he has been his whole career just played on really trash teams. You know, I think even like Calvin Johnson said it when he retired, that Matthew Stafford was that guy. And we give a lot of plaudits to, like, you know, Aaron Rodgers, people of longevity. And I'm not saying he's as good as Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying that he's definitely up there in conversations for being, you know, a top 5 QB for a very long time. So if you have a good quarterback and you can run a decent route, and you've got somebody like across from you, like Puka Nacua, who, you know, garners a lot of double teams and things like that. Yeah, I don't see why he can't be in the contention to do it again. And I think that's the overall point with the Rams, right? I can talk for hours about the strength, about Puka Nacua's rise to stardom, about Matt Stafford being a legend, about Myles Garrett and their defense. But overall, I think they are definitely Super Bowl or bust. They put a lot of emphasis, and Sean McVay's put a lot of emphasis on getting one more championship for Matt Stafford before he moves on. There is a team there is a core there on offense and on defense. There is very little gap that they have across the board. So it's a case, in my opinion, of who can stop them. And I think I made a short maybe a month ago, just asking the question, is this the greatest defense ever assembled? But now I'd open it up even more and say, top to bottom, is this one of the best rosters in general ever created on paper, right? I had to say on paper because they have not played a game yet, right? And God forbid 2 or 3 injuries and everything goes to pot. But as you look at it right now, top to bottom, the Rams 100% have to be the favorite to win the Super Bowl this upcoming season.
And they are.
And they are, right? And that for good reason. And I am very, very excited to see them play. I'm very excited to see how explosive the offense is and how explosive the defense is. I do think Aaron Donald's coming back. I do think he'll play this season. And again, I just think they're going to be absolute terrors. So it's funny. I was saying to Shadi when we were kind of researching for these episodes, the really poor teams and the really good teams are quite hard to talk about in this for a long time, in the sense that there's not much that necessarily needs to be talked about. They needed to beef up on corner. They needed to be a little bit beefier in defensive line. They did both of those things. They were favorites, probably close to being favorites before any of those moves, and they're still favorites now, right? And with the poorer teams, they weren't going to do much, and they're probably not going to do much again this season as well. So the Rams are another interesting one where I won't have to spiel for a very long time because everybody knows what they are. We just need to see them start to play football, and I think they're going to be dominant again. So I'm at that point of rambling. I think it's just, I'm excited about them. But Shadi, what do you think? Do you think there is a genuine team roster top to bottom that you would put up against the Rams? Let's say you were picking Madden teams to play a game. Is there a better roster in the NFL overall than the Los Angeles Rams?
I wouldn't say so. The answer to that is, I wouldn't say so, especially after your raging positive introduction to this. How can I say there's a better one? The only thing is, for me, they play in one of the best divisions.
Yeah.
They played twice against the Seahawks and they played twice against the 49ers. And I've just checked the results for last season. So against the Seahawks last season, they've won once and they lost once.
Yep. And the big one in the playoffs, obviously.
Exactly. And then they lost again in the playoffs. So kind of even. And then against the 49ers, they at least lost once as well. I don't know if they won the other one, but at least they lost once. So yes, they are better, but they still play in a very, very hard division where you can easily lose 3, maybe 4 games.
Yeah.
And then suddenly your record doesn't look as good anymore, right? So yeah, it's anything but guaranteed. That's the only thing I put against them, the division that they play in, really.
Yeah, that's a fair point. They also built, I think the one mark I did read, and it's barely a mark because it's been proven to help them win, and they have won in the past. They didn't necessarily build from youth. So they've got some older guard, right? Like the players that we've talked about. Like if Aaron Donald comes back, he's not a young spring chicken anymore. Devontae Adams is not a young spring chicken. Matt Stafford definitely is not a young spring chicken. So you put yourself in a scenario where if you don't win now or maybe next season, eventually the Rams will have to blow it up because players will move on, players will retire. So it's one of those, I think the Rams you'll see over the next 10 years, because I don't think they will consistently be able to just constantly trade. They won't have enough assets to continually keep filling that pipeline. So I think they're looking to win 1 or 2 now. If they can win this season and next season and then blow it up, and they might be poor for a few years. I honestly think that Sean McVay moves on to a different team. I can foresee this happening because they put a lot of effort into winning now.
Yeah, but it's funny that you say this.
Now, go on.
It's funny that you say this because 4 years ago in 2022, I already thought the same thing. I already thought, they're going all in now. They're going for the last dance. Stafford is getting older. Yeah. All their key players are getting older. So I think they did this whole thing in 2022 as well, where they invested a lot of draft capital just to get players in, and then they won the Super Bowl. And I thought, okay, that's it then. 4 years later, they're in the same situation because now they suddenly have players like Puka Nacua and people like that. So they can challenge again, which I don't know. Maybe in 4 years we sit again here with a 45-year-old Matthew Stafford, and they're going to do the same thing again.
It's different from being 34 to being 38.
Right?
You're talking now about another 4 years, he'd be 42. Aaron Donald's 35. I know Aaron Donald is not there at the team yet, right? Devontae Adams would have been 29. There's lots of different reasons why I think this is a dynastic for a short period of time. And we'll see if they hedge their bets right. Like this is the beauty and this fear and the nervousness of playing playoff football, right? Like, in a Premier League, for example, where there's not a playoffs, it's just the amount of points that you gain in our football. if you have the strongest team, you'll win a lot of games over the season. You accumulate a lot of points. Most likely, you're going to be up there and nearabouts. The NFL playoffs are a completely different game, right? How many? They had 2 really close games against teams they should have beaten the you know what out of last year, and then lost to a team that no one expected them to lose to in a barnstormer. So you still need that bit of luck, you know what I mean? And it's nothing is a foregone conclusion, nothing is a given. But again, they are a mega team right now. Philly just got signed LeBron James. They are a mega team in the NBA now with Jaylen Brown and Joel Embiid. And the Rams are the team in the NFL this upcoming season.
Are. And I've got one more question for you before we move on. It's a bit, I mean, it's not easy to compare Puka Nacua and JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, but let's just play this game. Let's just entertain this thought. Who do you think between the two of them is more likely to repeat their monster season?
I think Puka Nacua, because I think he does more. I think he catches screens. They run like jet sweeps to him out the backfield. I think he's got that dog in him. I also think his catching is better, where I think JSN runs better routes. But I think, and I also trust Matt Stafford more than I trust Sam Darnold. The thing about receiver is, you know, the man can't catch if the ball is not there, right? Like this is one of those things that always happens. So unless you're Randy Moss, who played for years with subpar quarterbacks in Minnesota. But the reality is, I think I like Matt Stafford connection to Puka Nacua better. I also have tried to sleep on Puka Nacua now, thinking, okay, first year, there's no way he can do it a second year. And then when you watch him play, some of the catches he makes, it's just insane. Like there is an insane player there who only looks to be getting better. So for me, it's Puka Nacua. If I had to pick a franchise starting receiver, that's who I'm going with. And I'm going to buy that jersey this year. Their new alternate yellow colorway jerseys, chef's kiss. They are beautiful, dude. I haven't bought an NFL jersey in years. I might go ahead and buy that one, to be honest with you. If Aaron Donald comes back, hit him on the back. I'm doing it.
Do it. No, I'm very happy that you say this because I jumped on the Puka Nacua train last season, predicting him as the overall total yards leader.
It was close.
It was close in the end, yeah. So I'm very, very happy with how his career is progressing. Let's hope he sorts out his off the pitch issues.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to bother him. But yeah, we'll keep it trucking along. We got caught up on the Rams and their beauty, and we'll talk more about them as the season gets closer. But last but not least, and I think arguably one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting team, I think, in this division for me, looking at it. So I'm interested to see what you found. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes, gladly. I also went into the preparation for this episode thinking the same. Probably the most interesting team. Let's see what I come up with. Let's see how they look going into the new season. Did a lot of research, and at the end of the research, I realized actually it's quite simple for them this season. Actually, it's not as complex as the Seahawks. But let's start from the beginning. On paper, I think still one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. Maybe not as strong as the Rams, but still up there. But also haunted by injuries in the last 2 years.
And EMPs.
Exactly. And so they got so haunted by injuries that they've also got haunted by conspiracy theories. That's how bad it is. Maybe they should move the stadium or the training facilities. I don't know. They still finished 12-5 last season. Still won 12 games. When they lost Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Michael Williams, Brandon Ayuk, even George Kittle was out for big chunks of the year. So they lost loads of their big names, and they still managed to not only get into the playoffs, but win 12 games and only lose 5 games. So that's crazy. That's a big. I mean, everyone knows that Shanahan is a master of his trade.
A wizard,
a wizard. But that again shows it to you, right? Like that scheme, you can almost drop anyone in there, and he's somehow going to make that work. It's amazing. So this offseason, they doubled down on the current core. They got some additions in. We'll talk about that in detail in a second. But the message is clear and very similar to the Rams. Maybe the last real crack at the Super Bowl with this core that they have. Not with the quarterback, but with the core in general that they have. McCaffrey, Kittle, Bosa, Warner, Trent Williams, they're all getting older. Yep. McCaffrey is every season is kind of, is he going to stay healthy? Is he not going to stay healthy?
Right? On one leg. Yeah, right. I feel like every year he goes into the playoffs literally on one leg.
Exactly. Or he loses a knee somewhere along the way, or I don't know what. So it's an older roster. It's an older roster, definitely. And they're running out of time to make it work. Adding to all of that, not only is it an older roster, an injury-prone roster, but they also have brutal logistics this season because they play both in Australia and Mexico City. And I'm of the opinion that this kind of traveling does affect players. I mean, they will train less, they have less preparation, less time to prepare for before the games, relax after the games. Australia is a long travel. Mexico maybe not as long, but it's still a travel on an older roster that is already injury prone. Let's see how that affects them.
And they have to go and play the bloody Rams as well. Like, it's not like you're going to go and play the Cardinals or someone easy. You know, you have to go and play Myles Garrett down under, you know?
Yes. And then they have to play the Seahawks twice with like one of the toughest defenses of the league. So it's going to be interesting. So yeah, I wanted just before we dive into offense and defense and whatnot, let's look at how they deal with the travel and let's look how they deal with the aging squad. I think that's the main storyline here, but they see themselves as a contender and you should see them as a contender really. On offense, nothing much changes. They're still classic Kyle Shanahan, the same thing that they've been doing for the last few years or many years and that a lot of teams have copied throughout the NFL, right? We mentioned again the wide zone runs, the gap schemes, the play action, lots of pre-snap motion. We've mentioned all of these things earlier when we talked about the Seahawks. Something special about them is they do a ton of 21 personnel, which means 2 running backs on the field, a running back and a fullback. Not a lot of teams do that. So usually McCaffrey plus Juszczyk, who's a very experienced fullback.
And his wife went viral for making those jackets. If you,
What?
Yeah. She, Carl Juszczyk's wife makes these jackets from their old jerseys, and they went super viral. I'm not a hater for no reason. They're not nice looking jackets, but she got a lot of love for them regardless. And a lot of the wags of the NFL, I think, wear them. So a little fun side quest there if you want to Google the fullback of San Francisco's wife.
Okay, I'm going to do that after. But yeah, nothing much here to add on the offense. Just the same thing that we've seen for the last few years. The twist is the receiver room.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know if you've seen the additions that they had. They added Mike Evans as a really true X-receiver that they maybe didn't have before. Big physical guy right from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. European people will probably mostly know him from when he won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. You've definitely seen him if you've seen that season. And a big red zone weapon as well. They brought in Christian Kirk as well as a slot receiver. A guy who can really win inside, get you yards after catch which 49ers love yards after catch. They are yards after catch monsters usually, and Brock Purdy needs that as well. Ricky Pearsall is coming back. George Kittle is expected to return early in the season. So they are now more stacked than ever in the receiver room, still with aging weapons, but they've still got it in them. Yeah. So Purdy has like probably the most diverse pass catching group he's ever had. So the expectation is maybe we will see a bit more vertical passing from the 49ers this year, and a bit more red zone attempts on Evans, but still run first and then passing second.
Yeah.
They are losing Brandon Ayuk. Let's see how big it affects them. I'm quite positive here because of who they brought in to replace him. Well, they haven't officially lost him, but he tore his ACL. He's still kind of questionable. The relationship is fractured.
Yeah.
A lot of beef. I think he already bought a house in Washington because he thought he would be moving to the Commanders or something like this. But then that never materialized. So, and they've also drafted DeSean Stribling, a tall vertical threat. Nice. So kind of a deep shot specialist. I haven't, that kind of went under the radar for me, but he's been on social media, on Twitter and all of these channels, he's been garnering a lot of attention over the last few weeks as kind of a, don't sleep on this guy. Yeah, DeSean Stribling. I don't know how to pronounce his first name.
Sorry,
so he's another receiver threat.
We'll wait for the first game of the season and then we'll write down all pronunciations. So we'll have
yes. Yeah, exactly. No, but so offense looks good, looks better. On defense, they lost Robert Saleh, who helped them again to stabilize their defense, and now left again to do a second attempt at head coaching.
Yeah.
Right. So they lost him, got in Raheem Morris to now fix their defense or lead their defense. Let's see how that goes. I could go into all kind of details now about defensive lineups and whatnot, but I don't want to bore you with that. And let me know in the comments if you're interested. Then next time I talk more about that stuff. But if healthy, the defense is stacked. They've got Bosa still, one of the best probably in the league if he's healthy. Michael Williams on the edge. Osa Idigizua, who just came in.
Well played.
And Romello Hyde, who's a newcomer as well. So they can create a lot of matchup problems with that defense. They're very hybrid. They can keep offenses guessing. And yeah, if everyone is healthy, it's really a scary front, one of the better ones. And also they are stacked on linebackers. They've got Warner and Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, both really good linebackers. So
I think the question is, right? Everything you're saying is dope. Oh, go on.
No, just one last piece is the secondary, which, unlike the Rams, they didn't fix the secondary. They are kind of, I've seen sources here and there that were ranking their secondary among the bottom 10 next season. So let's see how that works out. But the rest sounds great.
Yeah. No, and it's a good point on the secondary. I was going to ask actually if they done anything big. I think do you trust this team to stay healthy? Right, like it's one thing to have a year or where everything's a struggle, right? Like we talked about the Bengals last week and Joe Burrow, right? Like hard to stay healthy and not something that is easy for them to do. But San Francisco don't just have one or two; they capitulate physically, right? Like Brock Purdy was out. I don't know if you mentioned him in your list. Mac Jones had to come and step in last year. Like there was such a big, dull divide going into the playoffs that you look at them and you think, will you ever stay healthy? Right? Like your team that you just mentioned now, again, on paper, fab. And you can't argue too much. I would arguably say, bar the second, and maybe the secondary now as well, considering who the Seahawks lost, I'd have the 49ers a better team than Seattle right now, or at least an equal footing. But Seattle stays healthy, and the San Francisco 49ers play on Native American burial ground and seem to be cursed by EMPs and all kinds of things. So who knows what's going on over there? So what do you think? Like, do you think it's just an on-paper team? Do you actually think that they're going to have some substance this season?
I love how you're smoothly leading me to my conclusion, which, if you remember back at the beginning, I was prefacing all of this with saying you can do all kind of in-depth analysis about the 49ers, and it seems like a complex team, and it seems like a team that you can say a lot of things about. And I've got here still all the points outlined about the advanced strengths and weaknesses that we haven't even talked about yet. At the end of the day, it all comes down to that part. Can they stay healthy or can they not stay healthy? So exactly what you're saying. So that's why I think my final conclusion on the 49ers was it's actually not that deep with them. It's all, can they stay healthy? Can they be fine with the traveling? If they can't, and we will know after probably the first 5-6 games, no chance.
No, it's going to be a tough one. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? What are the percentage chances that San Francisco 49ers stay 90% healthy across the board? You let us know in the comments what you think. I know what my number is, and it's not very high. I'll be really honest with you. So, and by the way,
I know I haven't mentioned Brock Purdy at all yet because honestly, there's not actually that much to say about him.
Yeah.
But maybe just again to make a comparison, like we did earlier with JSN and Puka Nacua, I would take Brock Purdy above Sam Darnold, for example, if he stays healthy. I would take him in that team, or in this 49ers team at least. When he played elite. So
does what he needs to do. He reminds me of Jalen Hurts. You asked me who's the best comparison for me, Brock Purdy. I think he's very, and I know not like stylistically all the time, but like what they do in a game, I think for them, those two are familiar for me. But we'll see. Like I said, it'd be nice if San Fran can stay healthy. They're another blue chip franchise, right, in the NFL, up there with like Green Bay, Dallas, the Giants. Like it's nice to see the good teams be good sometimes because it brings more eyes on the league. It's probably good for business. And it's just cool to see some of those big head teams battle it out,
And it's also cool to see that we have two franchises in this division that kind of have an aging core, that have their last hooray, their last attempt at it, with both of them with two prodigy head coaches, Sean McVay and Shanahan, highly regarded head coaches that really influenced the NFL in a lot of ways. So it would be cool to see them going at it again.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. It's going to be very interesting. And that's our wrap up, right? We've just covered the NFC West. We talked about the Cardinals, Seahawks, the Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers. Let us know in the comments if you think we missed anything or any other storylines that you think are interesting to keep an eye on this season. We're going to do a quick rapid fire prediction now on where we think the conference will land or the division will land. We already talked about the why, so we'll make this bit nice and quick because I think I've already got mine locked in. So I'll kick off again because I think I'll let I'll let
Let's
you
do
go
one
first.
you, one me. Let's
Oh,
do
interesting.
fourth and then third and then second, but both of us. Yeah.
Bet. If we have a different fourth, I'll be shocked. But my fourth member of this division is going to be the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes. Nothing too much to be positive about this season for them.
No, but maybe a couple more wins and at least to be more interesting. And
what do you think? Final standings for the Cardinals? How many wins will they have? Over or under 5?
They were 3-14 last season, so maybe 5-12 is a good.
So just
is a good
exactly
comeback.
5. Yeah.
Still a high draft pick. Lots of quarterbacks next season. Carson Beck will probably get some playing time. We'll see if he's a real deal. There's a lot of intrigue, but again, they're not contenders. So number 3, I am going to have. Oh, you go first. Actually, for number 3, I went first before. Who you got coming in third?
It's so 50-50. It's so 50-50 between two teams. Let me go with history and say the Seahawks are going to have their drop-off and they're not going to make playoffs, and they finish third, as many of their defensive-minded predecessor franchises did. They lost key components in the secondary. They lost their main running back. Let's see if Darnold can produce without him. Let's see if JSN can produce in the same way. Yeah, Seahawks third, but it is a coin toss for me.
You know what? I feel exactly the same, and I think my gut would have said the Seahawks, but in the interest of keeping this interesting, I'm going to go with the 49ers here, only because, like I said, what was a percentage of chance I asked you in the comments of them staying healthy? I think based on history, it's like 20% chance they all stay healthy. And this could be the season that it all blows up. And I don't know if they get back to 12 games. That's tough to do with half a roster. So for me, I'm going to pick the 49ers coming in at third, which then leaves a fairly easy setup for second and first for me. But my second team then is going to be the Seahawks. I don't think they're going to have nearly as many wins, but I don't think they're going to have too much of a drop-off, mainly because they tend to stay healthy. I don't think they come back and win a Super Bowl by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that they finish second in that division. Instead of 14-3, maybe something like not 12-5, maybe like 11-6. I would even say like 10-7, and I think it's quite.
Yeah, I would have said 10-7, and I would have said that's not enough to get second, just because I rate the 49ers higher. And here's the point, maybe that I want to put up for debate. Yes, they are injury prone, but all it takes for them is, instead of having 6 key players being injured, maybe only at the same time, maybe only 3 key players are injured at the same time. And I think Shanahan has proven time and time again that he can work around that his scheme is flexible enough to bring in the secondary players and still perform and still win games. So all it needs is for either the players not to be injured all at the same time, or maybe to be healthy once they reach playoffs for the timing of the injuries, because you can also time the injuries in a way. So I agree with you. The chances are not high that all of them stay healthy, but the chances are high that I think the chances are low that all of them get injured at the same time. There we go. And we'll see. All it takes is that, and then they will have a record that's better than the Seahawks record, I say.
I give you that. And we both have obviously the Rams winning the division.
Yes,
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Super Bowl favorites, odds favorites. What can you? I mean, we would be crazy to go against that. It's kind of like what everyone said about the Ravens last season. Then see how the season worked out for them. But that's the position that they are in now. So yeah.
That's on paper right now. So that's the predictions. Again, follow, like, subscribe. Make sure you're following us on social media, because we will post out later or maybe tomorrow what our picks were. And we're going to pin them on our Instagram as well, so you can kind of see them in the highlights, so you can keep track. And hopefully we can do some coming back at the end of the year and see how our predictions played out. But let us know in the comments if you have a different lineup for how the NFC West is going to finish. Again, any storylines or topics you think that we missed today, you let us know. Turned out as well, I was looking at some of our stats, like 97% of people that watch our videos are not subscribed to the channel, or 94%. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and you never know, you might make us famous. But that's the goal. But we appreciate you as always. This was a fun division to do for sure. We're going to spin a wheel and decide who we will talk about next week, and we will announce that on social media. Shadi, it has been a long, tiresome day, but we got through it, and I think we got through it with some good information. Anything for the people before we break off for today?
No, let's go.
I thought you froze for a second there.
No, I just blanked. My mind is still so tired from the Seahawks complexity that I will dream of the Seahawks tonight.
Dude, I had 10 meetings at work today, and then got on and recorded this podcast for the love of the game. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your ears. Hopefully we made coherent points, and hopefully we don't listen back in editing and realize we were just chatting waffle for an hour and 4 minutes. But we appreciate you. Again, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will catch you again next week with a different division and a prediction and a breakdown.
Peace out.